When making decisions in real life, people may find themselves in different situations depending on the number of decision makers, the number of objectives, the information everyone has about the context. In any case, we always need to plan our decisions to get the best possible outcome. Decision support methodologies may help in this. We can map each methodology using a three-dimensional space, where the axes represent the number of objectives, the number of decision makers, and the degree of information in a decision-making process. Game theory is a framework that helps understand and model situations where the presence of multiple actors and multiple objectives may induce conflicts of interest. Energy system engineers often face situations like this at different scales. The aim of this lesson is to illustrate a simplified application of game theory for the study of electricity markets. In the electricity market, we may identify several actors that take decisions to meet their private objectives, often in conflict with the others. In a very simple structure, we may find several generation companies trying to maximize their profits, a number of consumers requiring a timely and high-quality supply of energy, the market operator who computes the optimal welfare electricity dispatch, and the government and the authority who issue directives to drive the energy mix. We want to predict how individual decisions affect the interaction among the actors. To capture the core of these interactions, we will consider a small portion of this reality. Imagine you are the authority that manages the national power grid of a fictitious country. Your goal is to make the generation companies supply enough electricity to meet instantly the electricity demand. This is composed by base and peak load. Suppose there are only two companies, A and B, supplying electricity to the national grid. Each company must decide its own portfolio for electricity generation, as if the electricity system were to be created from scratch. Both base and peak load must be satisfied. The companies have two options for generation: to use a mix of fossil and renewable energy technologies, which we call mix, or to use only renewable energy technologies. We will name this solution RET. Let's lay down some generic numbers. Let's say the profit from the supply of the whole base load is 8. The profit from the supply of the whole peak load is generically less, let's say 4. The cycling cost for supplying the whole peak load is -2. These profits and costs will be shared by the companies in different ways, when each chooses one of the two generation portfolios. We may face 4 scenarios. In the first scenario, both companies choose the mix option. With this option, both companies are able to cover the base and peak load, and they share the profits and costs for this. Renewables cover the base load, since their generation cannot be controlled. Each company gains 4 from the supply of the base load. The peak load is provided by fast-ramping fossil fuel-fired units, which can be turned on when demand peaks occur. Each company gains 2 from the supply of peak load. And the peaking units must face the cycling costs as well. They amount to -1 for each company. In the second scenario, both companies choose the RET portfolio. In this case, each company can cover the base load and gain 4. However, no company is able to meet the peak demand, since the electricity generation cannot be controlled. Due to this lack of service, the authority pays a sort of penalty. Let's assume it's -4. In the third and fourth scenario, one of the companies decides to generate electricity only with the renewables, when the other chooses a mixed portfolio. This is called free riding behavior. If B free rides, it will supply the whole base load because it is more competitive. It will gain 8 from it. In this case, A will be forced to supply only the peak load, gaining 4 from it. However, it will also have to bear the cycling costs, amounting to -2. The opposite happens if A free rides. The outcomes of the 4 scenarios can be summarized in this table. The total profits of each company in every situation are shown in the bottom row. Using a game theory approach, we can group the outcomes of the 4 scenarios with a so-called bi-matrix. In this matrix, the number of rows equals the number of portfolios that company A can choose. The number of columns equals the number of portfolios that company B can choose. Each cell represents one of the possible scenarios, and the 2 values in each cell indicate the total profits of the companies for the scenario. The first is the profit of A, the second is the profit of B. Let's now assume that the authority lets the companies decide the most convenient generation portfolio for them. Each company will decide its own portfolio, making predictions about the decisions of the competitor. For example, looking at company A, if it thinks that company B will choose a mixed portfolio, it will go for only renewables, because 8 is higher than 5. If it thinks that company B will choose only renewables, it will still go for only renewables, because 4 is higher than 2. This means that no matter what company B does, company A will go always for a portfolio with only renewables. The same can be said for company B. You can try and prove it. In the end, both A and B choose to generate with only renewables. The authority doesn't like this outcome. The peak generation is not covered, and the authority is obliged to purchase power from another country or to foresee blackouts. So it must put up expensive measures to overcome the problem. To avoid the risk of such outcome, the authority can take some precautions before the companies make their decisions. It can tell the companies that whoever decides to free ride will pay its competitor a penalty. The penalty may equal the one paid by the authority when the peak demand is not covered, in our case -4. This is similar to a mechanism actually under discussion in electricity markets, where the renewables should pay the imbalances they cause on the grid. In this way, the profit structure of the scenarios is changed, and the companies will make different choices. Under the new assumptions, we let the companies make their decisions again, as before. Looking at company A, if it thinks that company B will choose a mixed portfolio, it will go for a mixed portfolio too. If it thinks that company B will choose only renewables, it will still opt for a mixed portfolio. So in this case, company A will always choose a mixed portfolio, and so will do company B. You can try and prove it again. This time, the authority likes the outcome for 2 reasons. First, both companies choose a mixed portfolio, meaning that also the demand for peak generation is covered. Second, the outcome for the 2 companies is higher than in the former case. The introduction of the penalty induces behaviors in the companies which lead them to gain more. To conclude, in decision-making, the expectations of the agents on each other may induce unexpected outcomes. These examples showed that game theory can predict these outcomes and propose solutions to drive the decisions. As such, game theory-based tools can be used in different fields of the energy planning, for instance for the analysis and regulation of electricity markets, the long-term energy system planning by governments, the study of coalition behaviors in international agreements, and the design of technical solutions in cooperation projects.